Breaking news out of the NFL, where John Harbaugh has agreed to a deal to become the next head coach of the New York Giants. That's the latest from our own Jonathan Jones. It's a 5-year deal for Harbaugh, per multiple reports. The G-men are now the first of 9 NFL teams to fill their head coach opening. Harbaugh comes to East Rutherford by way of Baltimore, where he was the Ravens head coach for the past 18 years, winning Super Bowl 47. For much more on this, let's get a thought from our own Damian Harris and Rand Carthon. So official, is Harbaugh the right guy, though, in your opinion, for New York?
Well, I think he is. And Rand and I, we talked about this. Obviously, you were here. I mean, I just think that Harbaugh gives the Giants a sense of stability that they haven't had in a long time, right? There's been so much turnover at the head coach position, at the quarterback position. Now you finally have a building block, a piece to get your infrastructure together. And on top of that, there's still 8 more head coaching openings right now. So in terms of timeline wise, the Giants have the jump on the 8 ball. They're ahead of the curve right now in terms of getting those pieces together, developing that relationship between him and Jackson Dart, and really just putting the pieces together to move forward and try to have success.
And I agree with Damian, but I think this says a lot about the Giants organization, because John Harbaugh was the most coveted coach in this entire coaching search, and he chose to go to the New York Giants. So that shows you where people have regard for this Giants job and all the tools that they have to be successful. But I'm looking at this list in front of me right now. To name, Tom Coughlin is one of the more recent successful coaches in that franchise history, 2 Super Bowl victories. But since then, they've had Ben McAdoo, Steve Spagnuolo, Pat Shurmur, Joe Judge, Brian Daboll, and now John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh does bring that consistency to this organization that they've been missing, because of all those names I listed, Daboll had the longest tenured post-Coughlin, and that was 3.5 seasons. It's been turnover after turnover after turnover, and now you have someone in Harbaugh that's going to bring a consistent element to this franchise that they've been missing for a very long time.
Well, we will leave it there. I will say I love the word you use, stability. I think that's what this franchise has been looking for many years. The G-men, now the first of 9 NFL teams, as you see here, to fill their head coach opening. 8 jobs still opened in the NFL, and all these teams can now cross John Harbaugh off their target list, as he has reportedly agreed to a 5-year deal with the New York Giants. Tonight, the San Francisco 49ers hit the road to take on the #1 seed Seattle Seahawks, with a trip to the NFC Championship game on the line. Now, these 2 NFC West rivals are meeting for the 3rd time this season, and this time for all the marbles, having split the regular season series. Big questions still remain. Can the 49ers continue to overcome all those injuries? And now the same goes for the Seahawks, whose quarterback Sam Darnold is now dealing with an oblique injury suffered this week at practice. Let's dive into just how serious this oblique injury could be and what impact it could have come game time, 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight. You know, there was a report out there that Sam Darnold has not thrown since Thursday this week at practice, and Drew Lock has taken majority of the reps. But, you know, Rand, we kind of go back in history. 2022, Brock Purdy, he was dealing with an oblique injury. He still played. What are you expecting from Sam Darnold today, who will be reevaluated before the game?
Well, here's what I can tell you, because the oblique and where it is and where it's located, it brings, for a quarterback, and the way they torque their body to throw, it's such a vital part of you. And we laugh at Dak Prescott and his pregame warm-up where he does his little move, but a lot of that is hips and a lot of that is oblique, being able to contort your body, and so that's painful. But it's also something that you can't shoot up during the week, and so it becomes a pain tolerance. But I promise you, heading into that stadium, CenturyLink I believe it's called, or whatever they call it now, he's going to get some happy juice before he takes the field.
A little cocktail of sorts.
He's going to get a little cocktail of sorts.
Yeah, maybe a Rand special, a little tequila before the playoffs. That was his.
Nah, that was mine. That was mine, a little tequila shot. But he's getting a different shot. He's getting a more localized shot that it will take all the discomfort and pain away, and he'll be ready to roll.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to blow this oblique injury out of proportion. And I know that it's a big headline right now, especially going going into a playoff game with a chance to go to the NFC Championship on the line. But I think we're going to see the same Sam Darnold that we've seen all year, which is a Sam Darnold that finds Jackson Smith and Jigba on key passing situations. Sam Darnold that can still hand the ball off to Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, who have been a major spark for the Seattle Seahawks offense down the stretch. I don't think that we're going to see this injury hinder him much in terms of his production. And something else that I will say is there's a big theme out in the media right now. When are we going to see Sam Darnold turn into Sam Darnold? Well, are we ever going to accept the reality that maybe this is who Sam Darnold is right now? The past 2 seasons, the Sam Darnold that we've seen that has just continually got better, that is feel better, that with the experience, obviously some of it wasn't great. His stop in New York, not great, but he's learned from all that, and he is a better quarterback today. So until I see differently, now, again, this is a 49ers defense that's banged up with injuries, no Bosa, no Fred Warner. Like, he has another opportunity to still go out and play great. So until I see otherwise, I'm still believing that I'm going to see the same Sam Darnold that I've seen for majority of the season.
We'll see which version of Sam Darnold shows up today. But we can guarantee one thing. We know that this defense is going to show up today, one of the best in the entire league right now. How should the 49ers, Damian, game plan against them? What's the blueprint to be successful?
Well, I'm a big believer you got to meet force with force. And in terms of that, you've got to look at your leader, Christian McCaffrey. You have got to find a way, which Kyle Shanahan is going to find a way to get Christian McCaffrey the ball 30, 35, 40 times. But when he's your best player, that's what you've got to fight this Seattle Seahawks defense with. Because with the Seattle Seahawks defense, it's not about X's and O's. It's about Jimmys and Joes. They've got better players usually than the guys that they line up against. Well, you've got to get your best player. You've got to get Brock Purdy to have one of his spectacular games. Although there will be no George Kittle, but there's still Juwan Jennings. There's still Kendrick Bourne. A lot of guys are going to have to show up and play a bigger role than maybe they would have had to if Kittle was in the lineup. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to lean on your workhorse. That's been Christian McCaffrey. He has all of the records when it comes to rushing touchdowns, total touchdowns in the postseason. At the end of the season, he's your go-to guy. Keep feeding him the ball, and then ask the guys around him to step up and just strain a little bit more. KB, give me a little bit more. We gave you that 500 racks. we gave you them 500 racks for your bonus. He did. We gave it to you. Now go earn it some more. Go earn it some more. That's what it's going to take for the 49ers tonight.
Here's what I think. I think it's going to take variety. It's going to take variety in formations. It's going to take variety in just overall play call, keeping this defense off balance. And the reason why I say that is who's the play caller for the other side? Clint Kubiak. He comes from that Kubiak-Shanahan tree. So Mike McDonald and this defense have seen this offense in its entirety all throughout the offseason, all throughout training camp. And, oh, by the way, Mike McDonald has had success coordinating the defense when he was with Baltimore against this same San Francisco 49er team where they won, I believe it was 33-19. They forced 5 turnovers. Maybe Mike McDonald structurally understands how to defend this Kyle Shanahan offense. Now having Clint Kubiak right down the hall, he can, hey, how will Kyle attack this? We had a drill that Robert Saleh and his defense early on in our tenure at the 49ers where he would just allow Kyle to just script up plays and run against the defense, just plays that you think will give our defense trouble. I guarantee you that Clint Kubiak and Mike McDonald have done the same thing. So from Kyle's perspective, it's not going to be much that he throws out there that Mike McDonald hadn't seen or hadn't prepared for. So that's why I think earlier in your first 15, you got to come with some different variations off some things just to get them off balance.
And maybe a variety of players to step up. You mentioned Christian McCaffrey, some of the guys around him. But in terms of personal performance, which guys are you kind of looking at to step up in this game, Rand? We'll start with you.
For me, with no George Kittle, has to be Jake Tonges, the tight end. If you go all the way back to week one, Kittle went down with a hamstring injury that kept him out a couple weeks following. But Jake Tonges stepped in, was a virtual unknown name around the league, but he had the go-ahead touchdown that allowed the 49ers to win that game. He finished with 34 catches, 293 yards on the season, and 5 touchdowns in the regular season. Now, I'm not saying he's going to have a George Kittle-type impact, but he can still give you those tough catches in the intermediate area of the field. Now, another player I thought about going was Kyle Juszczyk. and being able to use him in a lot of George Kittle's role. But I think Jake Tonjes and the way he stepped up for this team has got to be the guy to step up.
Yeah, and I'm going to stick with the 49ers. And first of all, I will say Christian McCaffrey again, because in the 2 times that they've played Seattle, less than 100 rushing yards combined in 2 games, 0 rushing touchdowns. When I say meet force with force, San Francisco, regardless of the variety, they're going to have to be able to run the football, because against a defense that's this tough, the only way that you can not let them punk you and not let them back you into a corner is your ability to be tough and run the football. But in terms of a guy that needs to step up, I'm going to go back to Kendrick Bourne, because this is a guy who he has been very streaky throughout his career. When he's hot, he's one of the better under-the-radar receivers in the National Football League in terms of the way he can get separation, the way that he can catch the football, his run after catch. He needs to be more consistent, right? Especially with no George Kittle. He's going to have to step up and fill some of that receiving role. And I'll even talk about Juwan Jennings, because in terms of what he was able to do with the trick and some of that variety